Where are you checking in from, Christy? I'd love to hear that. So welcome, welcome, welcome. I am super excited, everybody. And by the way, everybody, Vine Light, you got to go follow that gal. She is, she's doing some amazing things with everybody. And I really want to do all I can to support light, because we need more light in this world right now. And that's what this conversation is all about. So, okay, what I learned from success and failure, okay? I got a PhD in this lesson, right? And it extends way beyond anything that I'd ever paid for a PhD degree in college, way more than a PhD degree in college, and has been very painful, very frustrating, very scary, very costly, very rewarding, all at the same time. Right. And understanding as we move through these thresholds, right, we get to have new levels of awareness. And when we get through the threshold, guess what happens on the other side? Right. We have new levels of awareness. And this is what I want to share with everybody. So last night I taught a class in my mastery class, and really excited about this group of people is going to be creating some amazing things. And everybody wants to be on the lookout for what's about to happen, because it's about to get crazy. These people are creating amazing things, and so blessed to be a part of watching these people step into their greatness. There's going to be a lot of it created. Man, I just got emotional thinking about that, because friends, my mission in this life, this is my mission in this life. Hey, it's good to see you. I'm so glad you're here. My mission in this life is to do everything I can to eradicate people's limitations so that they can step into their greatness and share it with the world. Because every single one of you has a gift that can transform people's lives. Every single one of you, whatever that means, transform somebody's life. And there are components, forces, agendas that want to do every single thing they can to keep you playing small. Understand that, friends, and see, because they want you to play small, your opportunity is to push through whatever you need to push through in order for you to become what you must be to create what you want to create, right? One of the questions I asked in the last challenge, in fact, if you haven't signed up for the ROI Accelerator Challenge, I highly recommend it. Yes, it is my product. And yes, there is a teeny tiny investment, but if I could show you literally, in fact, okay, here we go. Okay, here's a $100 bill. This is a $100 bill, okay? Would you pay $10 for this $100 bill? Like, I just want you to think about this. Would you pay $100 or $10 for this $100 bill? Would that be a good bid on your part? Right? Like, that would be a transaction. That's 10 times the investment of you spending $10 and I giving you $100 for your $10. Like, I would sign up for that class all day long, right? Well, that is actually what I'm doing with the ROI Accelerator Challenges. I'm showing people how to take a $10 bill and turn it into a $100 bill, right? Like, metaphorically, like, I show people how to move from 4, 5 into 6 and 7 figure income earners. This is what my jam is, because friends, as long as you are relying on somebody else, you are vulnerable. Let me just repeat that. As long as you are relying on somebody else for your income and your happiness and your security and all that stuff, you're vulnerable, right? And I want to do everything I can to support people in letting go the things that keep them playing small, okay? Because life was not meant to exist. Life was not meant about being compromised and suffering and things like that. There are agendas out there. There are forces out there that want you to believe this, okay? This is not my mission. My mission is to bring light into this world, right? Like, my dad taught me something. There's a lot of things my dad taught me. Some of the things he taught me, the way he taught me, not a big fan of, right? But he taught me some things. And the one thing he taught me, he says, when you borrow something, you always want to return it better than when you got it. Wow. It's like, I want to return this planet better than when I came here, right? And friends, understand there is some crazy things going on. And if you do not know how to control your inner world, someone else is going to sign up for that class, right? If you do not understand influence, somebody's going to use it on you, and you are very vulnerable. Like, go watch my TikTok videos. Like, I've got all kinds of content about this. Get over to Potential Zone group and see the stuff that I'm putting out there. Why did I become so passionate about influence? Right? Because there was a time in my life when I got clean back a long time ago that I was one of those kind of people that you did not want to argue with, right? Because I would verbally assassinate you, right? And I was able to do that because that was what I was raised in. Like, When it came time for me to have a conversation with somebody, all I could access was the things that I grew up and was exposed to. And I remember getting a car, I'd get in a car with my parents and it was a war zone, like screaming at everybody, like everybody was an idiot and F-bombs and all that stuff, right? That's all I knew how to access when I got into an uncomfortable conversation. So when somebody got into a conversation with me, that's all I could access, right? So I wanted to learn how to communicate effectively, right? Still got a long ways to go with mastery, right? But then I began to see some things that understanding how some of the most catastrophic events have happened in history, right? One of them is I call the Hitler method, right? Hitler understood hypnosis. There's a sign, okay? He understood hypnosis. In fact, there was a, this is way deep. I'm going way, way, way deep. I don't know the exact numbers of it. But in the 40s, I think it was in 42, they actually changed the megahertz of all of the media that you listen to create anxiety within you. Okay, I'm actually going to be talking about that on my masterclass. So if you want to learn more about this, I would encourage you to sign up for the ROI Accelerator Challenge, because I go really, really, really deep on this. Because again, people get freaked out when they hear the word hypnosis or hypnotized or trance. But the thing is you're always in one. It's just a matter of which one are you going to choose to be in, right? Like the whole Matrix, that movie, just like Bruce Lipton said, it wasn't a movie, it was a documentary, right? And what's happening is if they can get you to fight one another, you get focused on fighting one another, and then they're doing all these crazy stuff in the background that you don't even know what's going on. Right? So this is what I want to have. This is what I've learned about failure and success, right? When we fail, okay, I got a whole thing about that in itself, but let's just use the language that everybody else uses. When we fail, we get introduced to parts of us that we have never experienced before. Very nice meeting you as well. Enjoy your dinner. Thank you for being here. When we lose, we contemplate. We go inside and like, what is going on here? We get introduced to parts of us that makes us realize that we are way stronger than what we think we are. That's the great thing about failure, right? Success, when we have victories, like, and I'm going to share something with you tonight because this is really, really important what I'm going to share with you. It was actually a conversation that I had with somebody today, and there are things that I'm getting a little bit more familiar with myself, and I'm stepping in a little more into my feminine energy. I'm allowing my sensitivity to expand more and more, because I promise you 10 years ago, I was not that guy. I was very guarded. I was very stoic, didn't share my feelings, wasn't very in touch with them, right? But I've been trusting my intuition more and more because I was raised in an environment where intuition was not trusted, right? Like the only thing my intuition was saying was on being on survival mode, right? And so what I am seeing more and more and more is what's holding people back is what they've been indoctrinated with around this whole concept of failure, right? And I was talking to this person, and this person had incredible news of somebody's life that they impacted it incredibly, like created a miracle, literally created a miracle for somebody. And this person did a video, and I said, share it on TikTok. She goes, they said, well, I'm not comfortable with this. See, what happens is I had this vision, and it was somebody coming up to their parents and going, I have a report card. I have a report card. Look at it. I got an A. I got an A. I'm so excited. Like I worked so hard to get this. I have an A. I have an A. And the parent goes, but what about this D? Humiliated, just like that. Boom. So in that nanosecond, this person decides to never share a celebration again because they don't ever want to experience that humiliation again. Right? And this is what keeps us from stepping into our greatness, right? When you recognize that the things that you do and the things that you have overcome could literally be the miracle that somebody's looking for, when you start stepping into that space, you're unstoppable. You're unstoppable because you're not focused on what people are going to say about you. You're focusing on the impact that somebody is going to experience as a result of being introduced to you, right? Like, what do you want to create when you meet people? What do you want people to experience when you meet them? Right? Like a couple of years ago, I'm on this group Zoom and I had all these people give me feedback on how I showed up on that Zoom. And see, if I'm uncomfortable, I can get this, I think women call it resting itch face or something like that. I'm being PG version here, right? But I can have one as a guy, right? Like when I get focused and I'm looking, like when I'm studying or focused on something, I can get that look like, don't mess with me, don't mess with me. Right? But that creates experiences for other people. I'm not approachable. right? So how do you want to show up in the world? What impact do you want to make people have? Okay. But let's go back to the topic of this. What I've learned from failure and success. My greatest failure has become one of my greatest assets. My greatest failure was me almost ending my sister's life. My greatest failure was me almost ending my sister's life as a result of me driving drunk. Of course, I was in the car too and got all broken up and all that stuff. But that's what it took for me to start valuing this thing called life. Because I didn't value life back then. In fact, I didn't want to live to be 25 years of age back then. And my life reflected it. I can't count how many times I went into the ditch up in North Dakota, where they're full of snow and craziness and all that stuff, going over 120 miles an hour. I can't count how many times I did that. Lost my driver's license 4 times before I was 19 years old. Right? Like crazy, just out of control. That was my greatest failure. Right? And I've spent decades unraveling that to see, how do I turn this suffering and this pain and all of this regret into something that I can become somebody that can impact somebody else's life. Right? Like me working with my clients, like people that have lost their children, like made decisions that they would never make in who they are today, and they can't let go of it, and it keeps them in the past. Right? Because people need to understand they made a decision based on the context of the situation that they were in at that moment. And when we get there, when we have those situations, is when we recognize, what do we really value? Right? Case in point, like say you have a pet that you absolutely love and adore, and everybody comes over like, look at my amazing pet. My pet is amazing. Of course, I used to have a Doberman, so I have a whole other experience of this. And then one day I had a buddy over at my house, and my Doberman got up across his lap like this up on the couch, and my friend wrapped around like this to give him a big hug, and my Dobie got lit up. And my Dobie was 100 pounds, like steel, like ferocious looking Doberman. And in that moment, I had to figure out what I valued. And I didn't have guests at the house for quite a few years after that. Right? You understanding what you value, and sometimes you have to go through thresholds and crises and training opportunities and initiations to find out what you really value. Right? But once you're really clear about what it is that you really value, then you know what decisions to make. Right? Like I like to create experiences. Right? You can read all the books, you can go to all the seminars, you can go to all the things, but until you get in that raft, until you get into that experience, you're not going to know what it feels like. Right? And so a lot of people don't take risks because they don't want to suffer on the other side if it doesn't turn out the way they want them to turn out. Well, here's the great news, friends. Guess who's creating that narrative that causes the pain? You are. And a lot of that narrative is attached to past experiences. Right? So what if you let go of all of those past experiences and understood that whatever that experience was, everybody involved in that situation was literally doing the best they could with what they had at that time. Right? Like you would not. So I'm excited. I'm so excited. I'm about ready to get a Apple 14 phone, iPhone 14. And I don't think I had the first one, but I think I had a 6 was the first one I had. I believe it was a 6. I'm not going to judge me having a 6 because I'm getting a 14 now. I understand that 6 was the evolutionary process that Apple had to go through in order to get to a level 14 phone. Right? 6 didn't have 5G. Whatever you think about that. Didn't have the camera, didn't have all of that stuff, right? So why do you judge yourself for something that you didn't have the capacity to understand had you not had that experience? It's that experience that taught you what you value by going through that very experience, right? Everything is cool about Apple phones. What do you mean, what is so cool about Apple phones? Everything is. It's all how you use them. Just got to say that, right? Like all my clients, I give them a hard time if they don't have an Apple phone because they don't understand how to use them like I use them, right? Success leaves clues. I'm just going to say it that way, right? So what does failure mean to you? And I'm dropping a truth bomb, right? Like this is what I see. Like I've said many, many times, doubt kills more dreams than fear ever will, or failure ever will, right? It's the doubt, right? What are you afraid of? What are you literally afraid of? Right? And if I fail, that means that I am, finish that sentence. right? And you keep asking the questions to the answer. Like, if I fail, that means that I'm not smart. Okay, if you're not smart, what does that mean? I'll be rejected. Well, if I'm rejected, what does that mean? That I'm not worthy, right? And all of this stuff is the very thing. It's brainwashing a smartphone, one of the worst things ever, right? That's your experience. That's your experience, right? I have a smartphone, so I don't know what you have, but I appreciate your perspective for sure, right? But understanding that it's important to understand, what does failure mean to you? I have filed bankruptcy. I have been divorced. I have had lots and lots. I have had a DUI. I've lost my license 4 times. I almost killed my sister. I've been fired from jobs. Like, I've been through the gamut of things, painful experiences. But what is it? And what I understand today is I had an internal programs that created what got created back then. I didn't want that to repeat. So I allowed those experiences to teach me to be the person that I have become today. And I still have things that I want to create. So I get to let go of who I am today to become the person that's going to create what it is I'm going to create in the future. Life doesn't happen to you. Life doesn't happen for you. That is hogwash. Life happens through you. Life happens through you, right? And so when we can start taking responsibility for the fact that how I'm showing up is determining what's being created in my life, right? And I promise you this one was a big lesson for me. So I'm 6'2", right? And there was a time where I had about 30 more pounds of muscle on me. And I did that very intentionally because I didn't want people to hurt me. So I just put on this freaking iron-coated, like, don't touch me mode. I used to call myself an iron-coated marshmallow, right? But see, the thing is in doing that, I projected off a very defensive energy, a very defensive vibration. And guess what I attracted? Guess what I attracted? We will attract what we are afraid of. And then I'd go, why doesn't anybody want to be around me? Because you put off an energy that nobody wants to be around. Like, they're terrified. They're intimidated. Oh, wow. And I got the feedback. So don't use the Hitler method, right? Don't do the Hitler method. And I'm going to tell you what the Hitler method is, right? Hitler wanted to be an art student. He wanted to be an art student. He applied for one of the elite art schools back in his day, and he was rejected. He was wounded. And he set off to create World War II. Okay, but here's the thing, and this is what a lot of people, you don't realize how much you're like Hitler, right? Like, I hope that lands for you and gets your attention for what I'm about to say to you. What was one of the biggest catalysts for Hitler to not win World War II? Thank goodness. I'm so glad that, because think about what this guy did. He convinced an entire race, not an entire race, but a majority of it, to want to end the entire race of another civilization. Like, that takes some serious commitment. That takes some serious persuasion skills, right? And this is when the radio was, and everybody was captivated by the radio. And it's like, oh my gosh, let's get entranced by this radio, not understanding that he was hypnotizing them the whole time to want to destroy the race that he had issues with, right? But this is what took Hitler out. He would execute anybody that brought him bad news, that brought him negative news. He wasn't getting authentic feedback. He was getting very biased feedback, because everybody, I mean, think about that. You bring in negative news to what, like, news that he needed to hear, and think about that. Think about how that controlled the feedback that he got. Thank goodness, right? But it's a very, very powerful lesson. How many people in your life can you go and talk to and say, how do I show up? How do I show up in different contexts? How do you see me? And a friend is a friend that will give you authentic feedback. Okay? A friend that's going to sugarcoat it is not a true friend, right? A true friend is going to give you authentic feedback. And that's the type of friend to be for somebody else as well, right? It takes a whole lot more courage to tell somebody how you really see them than to just sugarcoat them. Now, please hear me. Please hear me, right? Like, having somebody believe in you and encourage you and all that stuff, that's great. That's awesome. Like, you'd be amazed what happens with people just having somebody believe in them, right? It's amazing what happens, right? And it's important to give them authentic feedback. The participation trophy BS is one of the most devastating things that has ever happened in the development of children, because they're not teaching them how to lose. So they go out into the world, they have a girlfriend or a boyfriend or whatever, and that person breaks up with them. They don't know how to lose. They don't know how to lose. They go apply for a job. They don't get it. They get demoted from a job. They get overpassed for a job. They don't have the capacity to know how to lose. Losing is one of the greatest things that we can do to learn how to develop our strength. Do I enjoy it? No, no, not so much. But I know it's a very important part of it. See, if we looked at it as feedback, as just feedback, what if everything is just feedback? But see, even feedback has no meaning but the meaning you give it, right? Like I could start working with clients and they'll be talking about some things and I'll be giving them feedback and they go, well, it sounds like everything I do is wrong. That's based on how you're interpreting everything that's happening. See, there's a fact that you have, and then there's the meaning that you make that fact mean, right? And see, we all have the victim archetype. We all have an ego, right? I got a really strong ego that really likes to get really, really loud just before I'm willing to get through a threat, right? And that's when the voices get that much louder. Just as you're ready to pass through the threshold and step into a whole other level of awareness. And like, friends, understand, like for some of you, my Gen Xers out there, some of you have played Pac-Man, some of you have played Donkey Kong. What happens? What must you do in order to get to the next level? You have to face a boss. You have to face a boss. You have to go through that training to face that boss in order for you to get to the next level, right? So when you're in the middle of a threshold, that's a great thing because you don't want to get through that threshold and don't have the fortitude or the strength to carry the blessing on the other side. The challenge is preparing you for the blessing. Just understand that. That's what's happening, right? And sometimes, oh my gosh, it feels like it's taken forever. But that's when our nerds, that's when all the pain, that's when everything that we're transcending is coming up, right? I want you to think about the word transcend. And this is some of what I taught last night. Transcend is pass beyond the limits of something, to surpass as intensity or power, to excel, to climb. It comes from the root word T-E-R-H. I don't know how to pronounce that. My phonics is, yeah. It means to cross over, to pass through, to overcome. It is the root of transportation and transmission. That's transcendence, right? So you are going to be put into places. I must be a Gen X. Gen X started in 64. I'm barely a Gen Xer, right? Before Gen Xer was baby boomer. I think Gen X, does anybody know the years for a Gen X? I think it's 64 to 80, I think is a Gen X. The criteria time frame for a Gen Xer. But see, what's important is being able to know what's the most important thing in your life. This is so powerful. What is the most important thing in your life? What's the most important thing in your life? This is the very thing that everything in your life depends on. You, okay, what about you? Absolutely. What is it about you? It's your ability to trust yourself. It's your ability to trust yourself. 65 to 80. Wow, I thought it was 64. Man, I barely made it, right? It's our ability. See, somebody says God, but you have to trust your ability to distinguish what God is, right? Like it's still perception, right? It's still decisions. It's still things that I'm choosing, right? Like the greatest gift God gave us was choice. Right? In order for us to have choice, to really understand the choice, we have to have the contrast, dark and light. What are you going to choose? What are you going to choose? And it's not either or, right? That's something else the propaganda has conditioned us to believe, that we have to look through the eyes of duality, that we'll never raise consciousness looking through that filter. But we still have to choose, right? And in order for us to choose, we have to trust ourselves. And how we trust ourselves is I'm going to take 100% responsibility for whatever comes out the other side of it. Now I'm going to stay committed and do what I need to do to get where it is that I want to be and where I feel called led, right? Like I didn't just show up here one day and said, hey, I got some stuff to talk about. No, this has been decades and decades and decades of stuff, right? Like I was talking to this other $1 million a day coach. Like she said, it took me 12 years to make $1 million in 1 year. And then it took me, within that next year, I made $1 million in 1 month. And then within the next couple of months, I had $1 million a day. And everybody looks at it and goes like, wow, you must be so lucky. She's like, it took me 13 years of going through the grind to get here, right? It has taken me long. Like I quit being a jeweler in my mid 40s, had a very successful career in jewelry because I didn't realize that I was coaching people all the time. Like, I kind of get that. Like, I jam this and see where I'm at with my coaching. I'm backing away from one-on-one coaching and going more into teaching products and teaching people how to take their gifts and step into their greatness, right? Which is why I created the ROI Accelerator Challenge. Like, if you have something that you want to share with the world in a profound way, or you want to create passive income, or you want to step into knowing how to teach what it is that you love to do, I don't care. I don't want to say I don't care. It doesn't matter what it is. Then join the ROI Accelerator Challenge, because your greatest investment is you. Your greatest investment is you. You have paid a price of admission. Then you have skills and abilities that there's people that some would die for to have. Right? So that's what I want to do, is extend to you to join me in the ROI Accelerator Challenge. Right now there's a waiting list, and you want to get on the waiting list as soon as possible, because it is going to be crazy. Like, this is what we're in the middle of right now. And it's amazing how people's lives are being transformed. And I want to do everything I can to support you to take what it is that's being called forward in you and make that happen. Right? I was just listening to somebody else, and they said a talent back in the biblical days, a talent weighed 16 to 14 pounds of gold. Okay. There's 16 ounces to a pound. Like, you start thinking out how much that talent's worth. Interesting. Words are just representations. That's it. They are not the experience. They are representations of experiences. So when you start putting things in context, it's like, oh my goodness. So when you hear the story of the talents, it's like, oh man, that's a lot of money. Like, you start looking at what Solomon got. Solomon had like mega trillions of dollars. He was way beyond, Jeff Bezos and all those other ones, right? So we were designed. Nature reflects, you're supposed to be abundant. Like, anything other than that, the adversary wants you to believe. Like darkness, you can call it, like, whatever it is it means to you, right? Because I am the least anti-religious person you're ever going to meet, right? Like, I love God and all that stuff, but yeah, there's so many. Religion has done a horrific job on making people terrified of stepping out and taking risks. Because if you question, if you step out of the line, you are going to be sent to hell. School, if you step out of the line, we are going to put your paper up on the wall and put a big red fat F on it. We have been humiliated by taking risks because we didn't comply to conform to the system, right? And this is the opportunity for us, right? Like this, we are in life, we are in training. So what is our greatest opportunity is for us to be able to transcend through the things that have held us back, right? What are you afraid of? Because you can't have courage without fear. You cannot. If you have courage, you did not have fear. Right? So I'm here to do everything I can to support everybody. I appreciate each and every one of you being here. It is so great to see new faces. I always love seeing new faces. Hello, Fran. It is so amazing to go follow Fran. Like, she's this gal. Oh my gosh. She is like, her other account, fighting tooth and nail. Like, she is, yeah, pretty amazing. And this is her journey as well. Right? Like, turn your story into your victory, right? Be your greatest hero in your story. And I want to leave this. Humble is celebrating value. Humble is celebrating value. Our arrogance will tell us being boastful or bragging about ourselves. That's our arrogance, right? There's some major influencers that walked this planet that had no issues with doing what their mission was, and they weren't concerned about what people thought of them. Okay? The more you rise, the less concerned. Like, it's not about not caring what people think. It's about not letting what people think of you in. That's a major distinction, right? I care what people think of me, not as a narcissistic part for me, because what they think of me is a reflection of them, right? So I care about that because it tells me how life shows up for them, but I don't have to take it on. That's where the mastery comes in, right? I appreciate everybody being here. I'll probably be doing a show on Sunday. TikTok, obviously I'll be doing some TikToking tomorrow. Appreciate each and every one of you being here. Much love. Get over to the ROI Accelerator Challenge, right? Amazing things happen over there. Get on the waiting list and be a part of the next time we open that up. So much love, everybody. Have a great evening. Take care.